My name is Nathan Reynolds. I had been gone for nearly 7 months, deployed overseas, fulfilling my duty. Every night during that deployment, my mind would drift back home, to my wife Emily, to our home in Virginia, to everything I believed was waiting for me once my boots hit American soil again. Emily and I had been married for 8 years. Like any marriage, we had our share of ups and downs. But through every storm, I believed we stood as a team. She was my anchor, my safe place. I never doubted that, until I landed back home. As my plane taxied on the runway, my phone buzzed. I pulled it from my pocket, expecting one of her warm texts or maybe even a video message of her waiting at the terminal. Instead, it was a message that made my stomach knot instantly. Don't come home. 4 words. No explanation. No words. No welcome. I stared at the screen as the rest of the passengers eagerly stood to collect their belongings. My chest tightened. I texted back. Emily, what's going on? I'm home. No response. The buzzing of the plane, the murmurs of returning soldiers, everything around me blurred into background noise. I felt an invisible hand wrap around my throat. Something was wrong. Very wrong. As I stepped off the plane and walked through the terminal, I scanned the crowd, hoping she would still be there, waiting. But she wasn't. The drive home was a blur. I called. Straight to voicemail. I texted again and again. Nothing. When I pulled into the driveway of our house, her car was there. The lights inside were on, but the front door was locked. I knocked. No answer. I rang the bell. No answer. Finally, I used my key, but the key didn't work. The locks had been changed. My heart pounded in my chest. I tried knocking again, harder this time. My fists echoed through the hollow night air. A man's voice came from inside. Sir, you need to leave the premises. This property is no longer accessible to you. I froze. Who was that? I banged harder. Emily, open the door. What is going on? Silence. Then a faint voice, hers, muffled through the door. Nathan, please go. Emily, what's happening? Let me in. I can't. And that was it. I stood there for nearly an hour. Eventually, the porch light flicked off. It was as if I no longer existed. I drove to a cheap motel that night, my mind spinning with possibilities. Was she scared? Had something happened? Was she sick? None of it made sense. The next morning, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Mr. Reynolds, this is Thomas Granger. I represent your wife. Please refrain from approaching the property again. All communication should be directed through legal channels. I stared at the text. A lawyer? I called the number. Straight to voicemail. My head pounded. I barely slept that night. The woman I had faithfully written letters to, sent care packages to, dreamed of coming home to, was now hiding behind lawyers. And then, like clockwork, another message came that afternoon. You will be served divorce papers shortly. Any attempt to violate the restraining order will be reported. Restraining order? I had never touched my wife in anger. Not once in our 8 years together. I sat in my motel room, staring at the beige walls. Alone. Confused. Betrayed. The next day, the process server found me. Thick envelope. Court papers. Inside was a list of accusations that made my skin crawl. Emotional neglect, abandonment, financial irresponsibility, even infidelity on my part. A claim that was outright fabricated. My head spun. I couldn't breathe. What was happening? I opened my email, desperate for any clue. And that's when I found it. A forwarded email chain. Accidentally sent by Emily's lawyer. It was between Emily and someone named Justin W. Don't worry, babe. Everything's filed. He won't be able to contest it once he's served. By the time he realizes what's happening, it'll be too late. I still feel bad doing this while he's away. Trust me, Eminencia. You deserve better. Once the papers are filed, you're free. And his military benefits? That prenup won't hold up if we play it right. My jaw clenched. My stomach twisted. I had been gone, serving my country. And while I was risking my life, she was plotting with another man to steal mine. I closed my eyes, my hands shaking. There's more. Don't worry, Emily. My lawyer said with the accusations, you'll keep the house, the accounts, everything. You won't have a leg to stand on. I felt like vomiting. The woman I trusted more than anyone was orchestrating my destruction, and she wasn't alone. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't the same man who left 7 months ago. and I wasn't going down without a fight. I sat there for hours, reading and rereading that email thread, as if my brain couldn't absorb what my eyes were seeing. Emily, my wife of 8 years, plotting with another man, lying, planning, manipulating the legal system while I was overseas serving her country. I felt like everything inside me had ruptured. I kept wondering, when did she meet him? How long has this been going on? My hands trembled as I scrolled further. There were dates, dinners, weekend getaways I had no idea about. Trips she claimed were girls' nights. It wasn't just infidelity. It was premeditated destruction. She wasn't trying to end our marriage. She was trying to erase me, wipe me out financially, emotionally, legally, as if I had never existed. But the worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was the fact that I never saw it coming. She had played her part so perfectly. The loving wife, sending care packages, calling me during my deployments, texting me sweet messages, and all while laying the groundwork for my downfall. I thought about my late nights, writing her from the base, how I signed every email with, counting down the days till I'm home. And yet, for her, my coming home wasn't something to celebrate. It was something to prevent. I knew I couldn't call her. I couldn't confront her directly. Her lawyer had made that clear. But I wasn't going to roll over either. If this was a game, fine. I would play, and I would play better. I reached out to my old friend Marcus, who worked in private security now. We had served together years ago. When I told him everything, he didn't waste time. "I'm on it, brother," Marcus said. "But Nathan, you need to be prepared. What we find, it may hurt worse than what you already know." "I need the truth, Marcus," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "no matter how ugly it is." In less than 48 hours, Marcus had a folder delivered to me. Thick, heavily documented. Justin Winters, 35 years old, corporate attorney, divorced twice, and apparently my wife's secret boyfriend for at least 2 years. Marcus's report detailed credit card charges Emily had tried to hide, hidden accounts, vacation photos under different names on rental bookings. She had been using prepaid cards and burner emails to keep everything under wraps. And then, another bombshell. Justin had a history. He had previously been involved in 2 other messy divorces. Both times, helping women navigate high-asset separations. Both times, walking away with significant financial gain. This wasn't just an affair. This was a con. Un con. I sat in the motel room with a file in my lap for hours. Had I married a woman? Or had I married a well-orchestrated lie? The more I read, the more my grief twisted into something else. Not rage, not bitterness, but resolve. She thought she had it all figured out. She thought I would come home, collapse, and hand over my life. But I had one advantage she never accounted for. I wasn't emotionally broken. I was focused. And when a man like me gets focused, he becomes very dangerous to people who think they're untouchable. The next morning, I met with a lawyer of my own. Not just any lawyer, the lawyer. Arthur Kane, former federal prosecutor, now one of the toughest family law attorneys in the state. I laid everything out on his desk, the emails, the private investigation report, the financial records. He sat there silently for over an hour, flipping through every page. When he finally spoke, he looked me dead in the eyes. "They're sloppy, overconfident. They think because you were deployed, you were blind. But Nathan," he leaned forward, "they underestimated you. And that's the crack we're going to drive a truck through." A small breath escaped my chest. Not relief. Not yet. But for the first time in days, I felt something close to hope. "We'll respond to the divorce petition," Arthur continued. "But on our terms. And we'll counterfile." "Counterfile?" I asked. He nodded. "We'll expose the fraud, the hidden assets, the conspiracy to defraud you. And we're going to subpoena every account, every message, every dollar they try to hide." Arthur paused, then added one more thing quietly. "You'll need to stay quiet, Nathan. The more silent you are, the more reckless they'll become. Let them believe you're broken." I nodded slowly. Let them think I was defeated. Let them laugh. Because when the storm finally hit, it would hit them, not me. Days passed, then weeks. Emily's lawyer filed more motions, demands for spousal support, requests for asset control, full claims to our home, even a petition for temporary sole possession of my military pension. They were throwing everything at me. But Arthur was ready for all of it. For every accusation, we filed hard evidence to counter it. For every claim of emotional neglect, we produced letters, emails, and call logs showing constant contact. For every financial claim, we exposed the hidden accounts they thought we'd never find. Every blow they delivered, we absorbed. And then we struck back. We subpoenaed Justin directly. Suddenly, things started shifting. Justin tried to fight the subpoenas. His lawyers filed emergency motions to block discovery. But the judge denied it. That's when it happened. The cracks began to show. I received an unexpected call from Arthur one evening. "Nathan, you might want to sit down." I swallowed. "What is it?" "Justin's legal team just reached out. They're requesting an emergency settlement meeting." "Already?" I asked. Arthur's voice carried a strange, almost amused tone. "It gets better. They're offering to drop all claims if you agree to sign a mutual non-disclosure agreement." My chest tightened. This was panic. They were scared. Arthur continued. "We're not accepting anything yet. But Nathan, we've rattled them, and they're about to make even bigger mistakes." I felt my breathing steady. My hand stopped shaking. The tide was turning. But deep down I knew we hadn't reached the end yet. Not even close. The real storm was still coming. Weeks passed, but the storm didn't slow. Behind closed doors, their strategy was collapsing. Every financial trail they thought was buried, we uncovered it. Every lie they told under oath, recorded, documented, ready to be used. Every shred of their plan, exposed piece by piece. Emily wasn't showing up to hearings anymore. Only her lawyer appeared, filing delays, requesting continuances, making excuses. Justin, on the other hand, tried to stay invisible. But the subpoenas forced him into the light. His bank records, personal communications, and prior legal dealings were being dissected by Arthur's team. And the more we dug, the dirtier it got. One morning, Arthur called. "You might want to come in, Nathan. We got something big." I arrived at his office to find 2 large boxes on the conference table, filled with printed files. "This," Arthur said, "is Justin's private correspondence. Emails, texts, call logs. Most of it encrypted, but we got court-ordered access through a forensic team." He handed me a thick folder. The first few pages made my stomach twist. "Emily, we're in the final stretch. Once this is over, the pension is ours, and we'll have the house flipped by Christmas. Do you think he suspects anything?" "Doubt it. He's too trusting. We just have to make him look unstable for the judge." I clenched my fists. Unstable? They wanted to destroy my reputation on top of everything else. And don't forget the post-traumatic stress angle. If we push it hard enough, the judge might side with us on custody too. Custody. That word hit me like a hammer. They were going to claim I wasn't fit to be a father if we ever had children. They wanted to preemptively destroy every part of my life, present and future. Arthur watched my reaction carefully. "This goes far beyond divorce, Nathan. This is criminal conspiracy. They're not just after your finances. They intended to dismantle your entire identity." I nodded, my jaw locked. "No more playing defense," I whispered. "Let's end this." Arthur's next move was surgical. We filed a motion with the court to introduce criminal fraud into the proceedings, citing evidence of conspiracy, financial manipulation, and perjury. Emily's lawyer fought hard to block it, but the judge allowed it. Suddenly, their entire approach shifted. Emily's calm mask cracked. She finally appeared in court again, but this time she didn't look like the woman who had once stood by me at our wedding. Her eyes were hollow, her skin pale. She avoided my gaze completely. Justin sat beside her, tense, whispering furiously to his own legal counsel. The judge spoke firmly. "Ms. Reynolds, the court is giving you one final opportunity to fully disclose all financial assets, communications, and dealings relevant to these proceedings. Failure to comply may result in severe sanctions." Emily's lawyer stammered. "Your Honor, my client." The judge cut him off. "Your client is walking on thin ice." For the first time, it wasn't me under pressure. It was them. That night, something even more unexpected happened. At 2:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I answered groggily. "Hello." A female voice trembled on the other end. "Nathan, it's me. Emily." I froze. What do you want, Emily? A long pause. I could hear her breath shaking. I, I made mistakes. I stayed silent. They told me you'd never fight back. They said you wouldn't have the strength after coming home. That you'd just give up. Her voice cracked. I never thought you'd find out everything. I closed my eyes. My emotions fought inside me. Rage, sadness, confusion. You try to destroy me, Emily. Why are you calling me now? Her voice lowered to a whisper. Because it's falling apart. Justin, he's not who I thought he was. And now he's threatening me too. He says if I don't cooperate, he'll bury me. You chose him, I said coldly. You both plotted this. I know, she whispered. I was stupid, but I was scared. He promised me everything. That I'd be safe, that you'd be the bad guy, that I'd be free. But now he's turning on me. There was a moment of silence. Then she said something I never expected. I want to talk. Not through lawyers. Just you and me. I met with Arthur the next morning and told him everything. She's cracking, he said. Exactly as we expected. You think she's telling the truth? Arthur shrugged. Partially. She's panicking. Justin's losing control, and now she's realizing she was a pawn too. But don't trust her, Nathan. Not yet. I nodded. Set the meeting, I said. But we do it my way. We met at a small diner on the edge of town. Neutral ground. Public. Cameras. Witnesses. Emily looked like a shell of the woman I once knew. Her hair disheveled, dark circles under her eyes. She clutched a coffee cup like it was the only thing anchoring her to reality. I sat across from her, silent. Tears welled in her eyes. I never meant for it to go this far. You didn't hesitate when you locked me out of my own house, I said. My voice was calm. Cold. I thought he loved me, she whispered. He told me you'd been unfaithful, that you had someone else while deployed. I froze. What? She nodded, shaking. He made fake emails. Screenshots. He showed them to me. Said he hired someone to follow you overseas. I gritted my teeth. The layers of his manipulation were deeper than I even imagined. I was an idiot, she whispered again. But I never wanted to destroy you. You signed the papers. I was scared. He said if I didn't, he'd make sure I lost everything. That the courts would believe him, not me. She wiped her eyes. Nathan, I need your help. Esther de Hair. My help. Her voice shook. He's turning violent. He threatened to leak personal things. Things from my past. Please help me. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. I'm not here to save you, Emily. But I am here to end him. She looked up, eyes wide. I can give you everything, she said quickly. Every message. Every bank record. Even the audio files. I secretly recorded some of our conversations. Insurance. In case he ever turned on me. I stayed silent. And what do you want in return? Tears streamed down her face. Mercy. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I spoke, my voice steady. Give me everything. And maybe you walk away from this with something more than ashes. She nodded frantically. Deal. As I walked out of that diner, the air felt different. The end was near. But the most shocking revelations were still ahead. The next 48 hours felt like walking through a minefield. Emily delivered on her promise. Every file, every recording, every document she had hidden away out of fear, all of it landed in Arthur's office like a bomb. Arthur and his forensic team worked around the clock. When I walked into his office 2 days later, Arthur looked up from the mountain of files and spoke one word. Unbelievable. He gestured for me to sit, then pushed forward a thick binder. This isn't just fraud. Nathan, this was organized. Planned for years. He opened the binder, flipping through page after page of detailed breakdowns. Justin hadn't simply manipulated Emily into betraying me. He had done this before. To other men. Multiple times. Each case followed a disturbingly familiar pattern. Target a woman married to someone with a solid financial foundation. Military, law enforcement, business owners. Build trust while feeding carefully planted lies about infidelity or neglect. Push her into filing for divorce while coaching her on legal angles, planting false evidence, and manipulating court systems. Use offshore accounts to move assets quietly. Split profits after successful divorce settlements. It was a business model, a cold, calculated machine. And this time, I had become their next target. But what they didn't account for was the one flaw in their system, Emily's guilt. Her secret recordings were the missing puzzle piece. Arthur clicked play on his laptop. I listened in stunned silence. Justin recorded. Once we finalize the divorce, Emily will liquidate the house. You'll get the settlement, and I'll handle the pension split. He won't fight it. Guys like him never do. Too much pride. Emily recorded, voice shaking. Are you sure this will work? What if Nathan hires someone like Arthur Kane? Justin laughing. Kane? Please. Even if he does, by the time they figure out what's happening, we'll be long gone. And if you keep your mouth shut, no one will touch us. Arthur paused the recording. We have more than enough now. Conspiracy. Fraud. Perjury. Money laundering. I sat there numb. Everything I believed about my life, about my wife, had been manipulated by this man. And Emily, while she had been manipulated too, the truth was harsh. She chose to follow him. Even when the lies started, she allowed herself to sink deeper rather than pull out. The betrayal wasn't just painful, it was personal. The next court hearing was no longer a divorce proceeding. It was an all-out legal war. Justin's lawyers tried to argue for dismissal of evidence. The judge denied it. When Justin himself was finally forced to take the stand for a preliminary hearing, his arrogance was palpable. He smirked as he answered the judge's questions. Cold, calculating, until Arthur stood up. Mr. Winters, are you aware that we have multiple recordings of you coaching Mrs. Reynolds to present false evidence in court? Justin's jaw tightened. I don't recall any such recordings. Arthur smiled coldly. Let's refresh your memory. He pressed play. The courtroom filled with Justin's voice, confessing every part of the scam. His face drained. The judge interrupted before Arthur could continue. Mr. Winters, you are hereby advised that you may be facing criminal charges for conspiracy to commit fraud, perjury, obstruction of justice, and potentially money laundering. Your bail hearing will be scheduled after this session. The color drained from Justin's face. His lawyer leaned over, whispering frantically. Panic finally cracked through the mask of control. For the first time, Justin Winters looked afraid. But it wasn't over yet. The judge turned toward Emily next. Mrs. Reynolds, you participated willingly in this fraud. However, you also provided crucial evidence that exposed this criminal conspiracy. Your cooperation will be considered in sentencing if charges are pursued. Emily sat frozen, tears streaming down her face. She wasn't a victim anymore. She was a co-conspirator trying desperately to crawl out a hole she helped dig. The consequences would haunt her long after this. As we left the courthouse, reporters swarmed outside. But I wasn't interested in cameras or headlines. I stood quietly in the parking lot, staring at the sky as the sun started setting. The weight of it all hit me in waves. My marriage, my trust, my home, my years of loyalty, shattered. But I was still standing. Arthur walked up beside me. You did it, Nathan. We did it. I nodded. Is it really over? I asked quietly. Arthur exhaled. The criminal investigation will continue. But for you? Yes. You kept your pension. The house will be sold and divided fairly. She won't touch your future earnings. And Justin's days of running this scam are finished. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting it sink in. I didn't win back what I lost, but I didn't lose everything either. And I didn't lose myself. But then came the final twist. Later that evening, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Nathan, it was Emily's lawyer. I know you want this all to be over, but there's something you need to see. What now? I asked, exhausted. He paused. There's another party involved. Someone none of us expected. My pulse quickened. Who? He whispered the name. And in that moment, I realized. The game was even deeper than I thought. I sat there for several seconds after the call ended, the name still ringing in my ears like a cruel echo. I hadn't expected this. Not once did I ever imagine her sister would be involved. Claire, Emily's older sister. Of all the people, Claire had always been polite. Distant, yes, but never hostile. She visited us for holidays, sent birthday cards, occasionally made passive remarks about my job, keeping me away too long, but I never thought anything beyond that. And now, she was part of it. Arthur wasted no time. The next morning, we met in his office as his team laid out the expanded investigation. This goes back nearly 4 years, Arthur began. Before you even deployed. before Justin entered the picture. He handed me a file. My stomach twisted. Inside were wire transfers, messages, and meeting logs connecting Claire and Justin long before Emily ever became entangled. They were partners, Arthur said. Claire introduced Emily to Justin. She played the supportive older sister, but in reality, she orchestrated the entire setup. My mouth went dry. She preyed on Emily's insecurities, fed her doubts about your deployments, about your long absences, about your finances. When Emily started questioning your loyalty, Claire introduced her to Justin, who was ready to capitalize on her doubts. I swallowed hard, feeling my pulse rise. Why? Why would Claire do this? Arthur leaned back, his voice steady but heavy. Money, jealousy, control. Claire was drowning in debt. She saw your marriage as a goldmine. She convinced Emily she deserved more. Once Justin entered the picture, the three of them worked together to build the case against you. My head spun. This wasn't just infidelity. It was a coordinated ambush that had been building for years, while I was completely blind to it. But there was more. Arthur continued, his voice lowering. There's one more thing you need to see. He slid over a recording. It was Claire's voice. Calm, cold. Claire recorded. If Emily hesitates, apply more pressure. Make her believe Nathan's cheating while deployed. You know how to fabricate evidence. Justin recorded. And if she backs out, Claire, then she loses everything. She's too scared to cross me. Keep pushing. I sat frozen, gripping the chair armrests. Claire hadn't just manipulated Emily. She controlled her. And Emily let her. Arthur exhaled. The federal investigation is expanding now. We're dealing with multiple counts of wire fraud, coercion, racketeering, conspiracy to defraud federal benefits, and obstruction. The walls were finally closing in on all of them. A week later, Claire was arrested. The charges were read in open court. Her attorney attempted damage control, but the evidence was overwhelming. She was remanded without bail. As for Justin, his plea negotiations began immediately after Claire's arrest. Facing multiple federal charges, his bravado evaporated overnight. Emily, however, was left standing in the wreckage she helped create. The court offered her a deal: cooperate fully or face criminal charges herself. She chose to cooperate. We met once more. Quietly, privately. She looked older somehow, way down. Her once vibrant eyes dimmed under the burden of everything she had done. I never saw what Claire was doing to me, Emily whispered, tears forming. I was angry at you for being gone so much. She fed that anger like fuel. I said nothing, just stared at her. I thought Justin loved me. I thought I was making decisions for myself. But I was just their pawn. They both used me. Her voice cracked, and I let them. The silence between us was suffocating. I lost you, Nathan, she whispered. And I deserve it. I clenched my jaw. My emotions churned. Anger, betrayal, grief, all crashing into each other. You didn't just lose me, Emily, I said quietly. You lost who you were. Her tears finally broke free. Do you hate me? She whispered. I stared into her broken eyes. No, I said after a long pause. I pity you. As I walked away that night, I didn't look back. I was done. The war was over. But my healing was only beginning. Arthur called me a few weeks later with one final update. Everything's closed now, he said. You're cleared. Your pension, your record, your assets, protected. He paused. There's one more thing. The federal attorney wanted me to let you know that due to your full cooperation, the government is expediting a formal commendation for your conduct and service, both military and in this case. I exhaled slowly, my chest finally loosening for the first time in months. As the months passed, I started piecing my life back together. A new apartment, new routines, therapy, time with friends, peace slowly returning. One evening, as I stood on my balcony watching the sun dip below the Virginia horizon, I felt something unfamiliar. Freedom. Not just freedom from the betrayal, but freedom from the weight I carried during all those years I thought I was fighting alone. I was still standing, and stronger than ever. Months turned into a full year. The courtroom battles ended. The investigations closed. The media attention faded. But the scars, they lingered. I wasn't the same man who first came back home expecting to fall into my wife's arms. That man was gone. In his place stood someone who had walked through fire and learned to carry the burns without bitterness. But healing isn't linear. Some nights, the anger would still come. The what-ifs.